I hope that everybody had a wonderful spring break and we're all ready to get back at it. Um, I'm Storm again. We'll go ahead and get started. All right, today we're going to be looking at the impact of school-based leadership teams for implementing a successful professional development initiative. This study was completed by Stuart Yeager and Robert Yeager. Often, teachers are less than enthusiastic about professional development days in their school. While this information can be valuable, the lack of implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of the concepts or initiatives introduced on those days can cause for decreased teacher buy-in for the initiatives, especially if there has been a trend of new initiatives every few years with little monitoring. Additionally, lack of leadership involvement in professional development days can augment the feeling of isolation and autonomy in the school culture. You don't want to be the people on the bottom corner. In order to transform schools and improve student success, teachers need training in professional development. Professional development is key to school transformation and is dependent on the relationship between the teachers and school leadership. One way to ensure that teachers and principals have a successful relationship is through implementation of school-based leadership teams. In order to distribute leadership practices and increase collaborative learning, these teams, made up of the administration and selected teachers, work collaboratively in order to increase implementation and success of professional development initiatives. In order to align staff and increase accuracy of feedback, monitoring, and staff collaboration. Distributive leadership through the use of school-based leadership teams have many positive effects when planning time is intentional to create collaborative work time for teachers. Additionally, this enhances faculty awareness of initiatives, resulting in more positive reactions to training, which is key to success for any professional development initiative. Creation of a collaborative learning environment where principals and teachers work together helps to create a positive school-wide climate and school culture built on a common language, beliefs, values, and standards of excellence. This distributed framework is key to improved school effectiveness. Which leads us to two research questions that our researchers hope to answer with this study. Number one, how will the depth of implementation of a professional development initiative be impacted by a school-based leadership team prepared to support and monitor the initiative? And second, our second guiding question is what differences can be found in the perceptions of the depth of implementation of a professional development initiative between teachers and school-based leadership team members who have been given preparation to support and monitor the initiative compared to teams that have not been provided such preparation. This is a qualitative study looking to determine the actual and perceived depth of implementation of the school-wide professional development initiative over 6 years in 4 elementary schools. The professional development initiative used the school learning model CLASS, Connecting Learning Assures Successful Students. They used purposive sampling to identify 4 schools from a pool of 75 that were similar in size and socioeconomic status. After interviews with principals and classroom observations were conducted. The CLASS summer preparation and coaching it was an annual summer institute. All teachers attended a week-long workshop on the CLASS model, and they had additional follow-up coaching quarterly each fall. They selected 4th and 5th grade classrooms for this study because they were at the same level of implementation. There were 3 sections of 4th and 3 sections of 5th at each school. They used interview and classroom observation forms to establish pretest scores. The school-based leadership teams were also selected at each school, and they were comprised of 5 teachers. These teachers met weekly with the principal for 30 minutes the month prior to the start of the study. The school-based leadership team then shared the information with the rest of the school staff within 30 minutes, by spending 30 minutes with each grade level to discuss implementation of the class initiative. There was a treatment group and a control group. The treatment group comprised of 2 schools that provided their school-based leadership team with information to prepare the team to evaluate, monitor, and support this initiative. The control group did not provide the support to the school-based leadership team. The data was collected in the spring of each school year. They used 3 tools. Each of them had a 4-point Likert instrument. They also used observation and interviews. Each school-based leadership team member was also interviewed, and the scores, or the answers, were scored using rubrics provided by the leaders of the professional development initiative. In order to understand a little bit more about how the information was studied or collected and evaluated, we need to look a little bit at statistics. Chapter 12 in our text is on descriptive statistics, and that looks at defining some of the terms in statistics. So the mean is the arithmetic average of all scores. It adds up all scores and then you divide by the number of scores, and it's the preferred measure of central tendency. Range is the difference between the highest and the lowest score in a distribution, and it's a quick estimate of the variability of a particular sample. Variance is the amount of spread among scores. So a small variance means all the scores are close together, where a large variance means the scores are more spread out. The correlational coefficient is a measure of relationship to the degree of which 2 sets of scores are related. 2 sets of scores from one group of participants where 2 variables are highly related, the coefficient would be near +1 or -1. If 2 variables are not related, the coefficient will be near 0. Chapter 13 covered inferential statistics. Inferential statistics are data analysis techniques for determining how likely it is that the results from the sample are the same results that would have been obtained for the entire population. It's generalized to the population of individuals based off of findings from sample populations. How likely is it that it is, and it answers the question, how likely is it that the sample represents the whole. It also looks at sampling error, the expected chance variation among the means of the sample, and looks at hypothesis testing, the evaluation of results against expectations. So in order to reject the null hypothesis is that there's no meaningful differences, only those due to sampling error. In favor of the research hypothesis, the two groups are meaningfully different, and one treatment is more effective than the other. If the null hypothesis can be rejected, then the research hypothesis is supported. The t-test was also covered in Chapter 13. This is a test of significance, so it determines the likelihood or probability that the results from the sample are just from chance. So the level of significance is known as alpha. The smaller the probability level, the less likely the finding occurred by chance. The t-test is used to determine whether 2 groups of scores are significantly different at a collective probability level, and it compares the actual difference between the means of the groups with the differences expected by chance if the null hypothesis is true and there is no difference between groups. The ratio is referred to as the p-value. If the p-value is equal to or greater than the predetermined significance level, just from chance, the null hypothesis is rejected, and the research hypothesis is supported. This is the sample of the tools that were used by our researchers. They have an observation form that where they evaluate the 1-hour observation for the teachers where they evaluated the process. They also had a teacher interview form using a rubric to help evaluate that information. And they also use interview questions, and they use the observational forms that measure the depth of implementation using the 4-point rubric. The inter-rater agreement was calculated using Cohen's kappa coefficient with K equaling 0.67, so there was a strong inter-rater reliability. And then t-tests for the independent samples were applied to pre-test scores, and there was no significant difference between the control and treatment groups. Effectiveness of the experiment was assessed by using t-tests as well on post-test scores, which occurred in the spring of each year following the pre-test. Combat alpha values for each form were also reported. The observational form was 0.72, the teacher interview form was 0.75, and the perception interview was 0.81. And if we look at the scores or the graph, any values between 0.7 and 0.9 are considered good. You have to have strong, good internal consistency. Then we go, which leads us to our results. The teacher content knowledge regarding class would be impacted positively with school-based leader team experiences in supporting and monitoring the outcomes of the initiative. Survey results were significantly different from teachers who worked with an experienced school-based leadership team person as compared to teachers who worked with a school-based leadership team who had not been assisted. Teacher behavior using specific techniques from the class initiative was positively impacted with the school-based leadership team preparation in support and monitoring outcomes of the initiative. Perception of the teachers regarding their own depth of implementation of class who worked with an informed school-based leadership team was aligned with the perception of the school-based leadership team regarding the depth of implementation by the teachers. The difference was not significant. And lastly, the perception of teachers regarding their own depth of implementation of the initiative who worked with a school-based leadership team that had not been trained was not aligned with the perception of the school-based leadership team regarding the depth of implementation by the teachers. So the implications and recommendations of this study are that preparing in order for successful implementation of professional development, leadership preparation is necessary. School leaders directly influence other teachers, motivate other teachers, and are responsible for the development of best practices in a school environment. In order to sustain a professional development initiative, school-based leadership teams need to be allowed time and training to successfully support and monitor teachers in the school. Reversing the common culture of isolation and individuality with the use of distributive leadership frameworks and school-based leadership teams increases the success of initiative implementation.